Welcome back to Notre Dame Day 2024. I'm Bennett Wise. Scott Appleby is the Marilyn Keough Dean of the Keough School of Global Affairs. He is a leading scholar of global religious movements and a professor of history who joined the Notre Dame faculty in 1994 as director of the Keough Center of American Catholicism. He went on to serve as director of the Kroc Institute for International Peace Studies for 14 years before his appointment as founding dean of the Keough School in 2014. Dean Appleby, welcome to Notre Dame Day.
Thank you, Bennett.
Absolutely. And the school is now celebrating its 10th year and has quickly grown. How is it poised to make a difference in the coming year? And also, what are some of the 4 key areas of the school where it wants to make a difference?
Great. When the school was founded in 2014, we inherited 5 international institutes and 14 faculty that were scattered across those institutes. And we have grown over this past decade to about 70 faculty. And those faculty have been hired around 4 areas that poise us to make an impact, I think, in the next decade. And they reflect the mission of the school to advance integral human development, to understand human flourishing and development by addressing a variety of challenges to human flourishing around the world. So the 4 areas where we have real expertise, real strength in our faculty, our teachers, our scholars, researchers are, and they're all interrelated because these problems in the world are all interrelated. So one of them is the challenge of poverty, inequality, and marginalization of people. What are the drivers of poverty? How do we get out of poverty? How do we bring all hands on deck on that? Closely related is the question of sustainability and environmental justice. You were interviewing Emily Grubert, who is a Keough School faculty member a few moments ago, who is a terrific expert with real policy expertise on decarbonization and how decarbonization will affect workers in fossil fuel plants and industries. And what do we do about that? How do we take care of those workers as well as the environmental problems? So there's a combination of that question of justice, economic justice for them, and equality. So the environment and the poverty pieces go together. Our third area that I'll mention is democracy, governance, institutions, and rights. We have real strength there through the Keough Institute, which is one of the units in the Keough School. And they have excelled for 40 plus years in the study of comparative politics and democracy, especially in Latin America. But we're part of the democracy initiative that we've talked about today. And we focus on how to avoid democratic backsliding and also focus on human rights and good governance. So we have a number of scholars in that area. And that last but not least, an area on violence and peace. We have a world-class peace institute with many scholars there that look at the ways we can mitigate violence, begin peace processes that are successful, and build peace over time. So those are the 4 areas where we have real strength, and they work together because peace and conflict and environmental change and poverty and migration, these problems are so interrelated that we take a multidisciplinary approach, and we're, in the last analysis, a policy school that brings these researchers together to try to answer the tough questions. How do we manage environmental change, poverty, violence, inequality?
Now, could you tell us about the school's interdisciplinary approach to solving what your scholars called wicked problems?
Well, these wicked problems, as I was just mentioning, if you ask, what about the problem of refugees and migrants? To ask that question in isolation from climate change that is driving people away from arid lands and that they can't farm anymore, or in the absence of asking about governance and rights and democracy, you're gonna miss the drivers and the context. All of these problems are kind of entangled with one another. In order to be a policy school that is trying to solve those problems, you have to see them holistically. So you have to bring the social scientists and the engineers and the ethicists and the historians and the political scientists all together to address the different dimensions of something as massive as climate change or as massive as the challenge of violence and poverty and migration. So many disciplines on deck. It's a different model. It's a different way of knowing the world. than a sole discipline focus. I'm a historian, and so as a historian, that discipline, I understand history. Political scientists go deep into political science. So our faculty are based in those disciplines, and then they bring that specialized knowledge together around a particular set of problems.
Now I want to switch gears for just a moment. You were the inaugural dean of the Keough School and have announced that you're stepping down as the dean at the end of the academic year. Now, what is one example of your proudest moment as dean?
You said one example, Bennett. You know I'm not going to give you just one example. I have 4 children. Do you want me to choose among my favorite children here publicly? So I'll mention 4 great moments very quickly. One proud moment, I mentioned the Violence and Peace Initiative. We have a terrific project called the Peace Accords Matrix. And after the Peace Accord was signed in Colombia in 2016 to end the longest-running civil war, our Kroc Institute in the Keough School for National Peace Studies, that project was chosen to oversee the implementation of the hundreds of Peace Accord provisions.
Wow.
And they are halfway through that process. No other university in the world has been asked to play an evidence-based, nonpartisan role in helping solve a major war. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of Laura Miller-Graff. She'll be embarrassed that I'm mentioning her, but she stands for one of the professors I've been part of bringing to Notre Dame. She's fantastic. Psychologist, also works in peace studies. So I'm using Laura as an example of many other people I'm so proud of. Jenna Ann McGuire is my third, not child, my third favorite model here. Jenna was in our first master's class, Masters of Global Affairs, a new program in the Keough School. And Jenna, great student, went on to become a fellow and a leader within Catholic Relief Services, which after our first year, that was a great placement for one of our students because Catholic Relief Services is one of the leading, of course, development organizations in the world, and she's still working for them in Guatemala. She's fantastic. And then I would say the fourth focus would be on Claire Cullinan. Now, Claire Cullinan is an undergraduate. She's fantastic. I could have chosen many, so she represents many. We have a new undergraduate program in global affairs, and students like Claire are so gifted, talented, and somehow are able to multitask with a capital M, capital T. So they're working on conflict questions, working on environment, and they're so full of idealism and life and vigor and intelligence that I'm so proud that the Keough School, like all of Notre Dame, hosts these wonderful students.
There are so many more moments and students I'm sure you'd like to thank as well,
Yes.
But we have something for you right now, Dean Appleby. Thank you so much for being on Notre Dame Day, and before we let you go, we have a little bit of a surprise for you.
I didn't buy into this, by the way, Bennett. No surprises.
Changed my life. You know, I came here from Louisiana. When I set foot on campus as a freshman, it was the first time I'd crossed the Mason-Dixon line. And I was just enchanted and remain enchanted by the possibility. The combination of great accomplishments, great achievement, great support, and the ability to dream big and to have faith. We have 38 master's students in the first class from 23 different countries. If Notre Dame and the Keough School really want to affect the world, to bring Notre Dame's message and values to the world and change things, you have to be involved in policy. Notre Dame students, of course, always want to give back. They are concerned with social issues, they are concerned with poverty, migration, climate change, and so they naturally gravitate to these issues.
These young people in our master's program have been terrific. They have not been guinea pigs, they haven't been pioneers, but they've been co-creators of the program because they're the first class to go through this new curriculum. There's a really exciting variety of career paths, and we're also learning about that, how best to prepare these students for important jobs where they can leverage their education and be forces for good in the world, as we say here.